Hi, Peter Charles here. And if you were to ask a group of photographers, especially people that are in the photography review business, who has the best autofocus, Sony or Fujifilm? I'm sure the chorus of Sony would be deafening. Nobody would ever say Fujifilm. So let's take a look at a test I did and see how that turned out. Now, my last video, which I'll put up in the cards, was about the fact that hidden biases can creep into camera and lens reviews because people repeat what they've always heard. And it is true that Fujifilm autofocus in the past wasn't that great. I know, I've had Fujifilm cameras going back to an XE1, and it was, for video, it was pretty bad. I mean, there's a lot of hunting going on. What I ended up having to do was use strictly manual lenses. So I avoided the problem. And I couldn't use autofocus in video mode. But the latest batch of cameras that Fujifilm will come out still get a bad knock from reviewers for having bad autofocus. So I ran a test a little while ago where I used my Sony ZV-E10 with the 16 to 50 millimeter lens versus my Fujifilm XS20 with the 18 to 120 millimeter lens. Now, the autofocus setup for both cameras was sort of out of the box. The only thing I did was make sure they had the latest firmware upgrade. That was basically it. And I set up a little test with a wooden block in my studio to see what would happen as I moved that block around and see if it would track on my face or not. Now, what's important is I did not use the vlogging mode. I did not use the product showcase mode. This was straight out of the box autofocus. So let's go have a look at how this turned out.
Here I'm just passing the piece of wood in front to see how the autofocus responds. And you notice how it glitched on my face there and then wasn't quite smooth coming back. Okay, here it alternates between my face and the wood, and you notice it's relatively smooth, and it's smooth coming back. Now watch as the wood passes in front of my face, there's that little hesitation, a little glitch. I'm out of focus, it finally snaps back. It's slow coming back. Now I'm running the wood in front of my face, and you notice it snaps in nice and quickly, smoothly, no hesitation, and no hiccups. Here the Sony does pretty good, and it's mostly smooth as I move the block of wood backwards and forwards. Here the Fujifilm is very smooth as it transitions between my face and the block. There's no jittering or hesitation. Here I'm giving the Fujifilm a workout by moving the block quickly, and as you see, it can keep up.
So as you can see, the XS20 actually did better than the Sony on that test. And I think most people would have gone into that thinking, nah, it's not a chance. Sony's going to be way better. Now, that Sony ZV-E10 is roughly equivalent to an A6600 in terms of its autofocus and sensor and all that kind of stuff. So that's an older generation. The Fujifilm XS20 is newer. So if you put it up against the Fujifilm XS10, the Sony would have come out better. But the 20 is a big leap up in autofocus performance for video. So this is the point I'm trying to get across here, is that every time we pick up a review and read it or watch it online, whatever the case may be, and they automatically dump on the Fujifilm autofocus without showing you actual problem results from it. You know, the newer cameras, as you can just saw, that did really, really well. So, you know, I would be very careful about assuming that autofocus in Fujifilm cameras isn't good, period, end. The old ones, yeah, I agree with you, wasn't great. But the new ones, they're right up there with the rest. So don't let reviewers influence you if they don't give you specific examples where this Fujifilm fails. So keep that in mind, because I find this stuff just keeps getting repeated and repeated without the appropriate tests. So there you go. The Fujifilm won. Isn't that a surprise? Cheers.